Something for your mind. Something for your mind. Something for your mind.
Alright, hell yeah. So we're going to go over this move. I'm going to call it the early turn. We're going to actually shift our body 180. And that's kind of difficult in an R1 boat. You know, you're kind of comfortable just getting locked in place, you know what I mean, and then prying, spinning, and maybe being backwards. So instead of being backwards to this, we're actually going to spin, so now we're forwards. Once we're forwards, we're going to be on our off side. So this is our right side. We're going to come in on our left side. That's our strong side. Spin this around and then rotate our body. But just the fact that we can now capture the wave, we're looking upstream. And then hell yeah. So let's take a look at that kind of one all the way through. And then we have another footage of doing this. So I was able to do this twice in 2 surfs, you know, at the same time, or just consecutively. And so hell yeah, we're going to come in and we're going to rotate off that pile, and then I'm just going to, you know, do a body switch. And so hell yeah. And once I do that, I do have to capture the pile again. You know what I mean? It's kind of fast over there, so I need to kind of get back over on top of that pile. That kind of shows you that seal the deal. And so, hell yeah. We were able to surf back over, and we get pieced out on that one. Okay, so hell yeah. So this pile it's going to get steeper, and I'm going to enjoy that. Right now it's just a little bit kind of glassy. It doesn't hold me, but it is a pile. You know what I mean? So this was a difficult day to surf, but this was one of the moves I could do. As you're coming around, you can always kind of smiley face back and forth on a pile. You know what I mean? So that's one thing, and that's really good to practice getting your paddle into the pile and prying, because as I pry the boat around, you know, I could have my paddle in the pile. I could be backwards, but then I could do that same thing, sit on this edge and get it to rotate all the way back. Because like right now, I'm in this position. Where does the boat want to go? It wants to go rock back around the pile again. But this early turn is very useful because it allows me to actually kind of capture that spin. Once I do this rotation and rotate my body, now I'm actually got a lot more options. I'm kind of more in a stable surf instead of backwards. And so hell yeah. And so I'm going to go back over to that pile and do whatever I can do. Sweet. And then we get pieced out there. Okay, hell yeah. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to rotate, and then I'm going to shift my body. On this, I think the hardest thing is actually maintaining your seated position on this outer tube for the edged boat. Because we're leaning, prying, the boat is edged. If you can push out the floor, that's going to be easier. I made the video of like strapping, got definitely straps over the top. That kind of holds these outer tubes closer together. Your floor is more protruded. And so when you do edge against this, what prevents, if you can edge your boat, it prevents this boat from just flattening and hitting the upstream. So even like right here, look, there is no hit. So it did want, I mean, these R1 boats are very wide. And so they do flatten out, but like, you know, it almost, like in that little dip, none of the upstream tube is touching. So now I have this clean rotation. I'm edging, sweeping, and the boat is rotating. It didn't hit anything down into the trough. And after I'm done rotating, I'm just kind of looking to where I want to go. At some point, I release the paddle from the pry and then whip the paddle around, switch hands. I'm looking in the direction I want to go. I'm sitting more sideways, so that can help. A lot of these things of switching positions will at least get into the sideways position, because now when I get my paddle in, I truly am not sitting forward yet, but I am sitting sideways, you know, and that's enough. And now I can start like rotating my body back into a position. And this is the offside, so it is tricky to actually just even be on your offside position and feel comfortable. But the fact that I am looking down into the trough with some forward paddle strokes, it makes that move just really easy and in some regards crisp. And so hell yeah. So I might as well. Actually, we're just gonna watch both. We can watch maybe both of these. Just hell yeah. Watch that body position a few times. So pry, look, switch, and this was the first one, so I probably did the same exact thing. So I'm prying, giving up on the pry, get the paddle around, looking down into the trough, sitting sideways, switched with the paddle. Now I'm in the switched position, still sitting sideways, and then at some point I get more into a normal seated position right there. And so hell yeah, and get the feet back. Sweet. And then we get kicked out on this one. Hell yeah. And here's that second one. Gonna rotate off the pile, sweep, look, switch paddles, and then get back into a position. It's the offside. It is tricky, but we do it. Hell yeah. And we spun, and now this is my strong side. So after we were on our so now we are on our offside, but I'm going to do another rotation, and then I can be on my strong side for that one. And so hell yeah. So even just there, just the fact that that's my strong side, just like whipping that boat and kind of knowing my spatial position. You want to do your spins not on top of the pile typically. You want to be like kind of, especially when it's not surfing great like these conditions. You need to get your body always on that low side, just always on the low side of that teeter-totter. Be aggressive, you know what I mean? Rotate. When you do rotate, something's got to go down in so you have an equal and opposite reaction. And that's something I'm working on from the other tutorial is to, do I pivot more center? Sure, because if I pivot more center, something's actually going to go down into the trough, and then maybe I could lean back onto that tube. So even right here, I even get complacent and then start to shift forward, just because even just the being backwards with the subtle notion that you're going to slide into the trough is a little bit weird. And so there's a tendency to always just be on the high side, but we have a teeter-totter here. Even that little shift probably could have got me totally pieced out, and it actually did. It set me up where now I'm not deep into the pile. And so for another tutorial, we talked about how those sweeping strokes need to be hella more aggressive, and my spatial awareness backwards isn't very good at all. And so, even right here, we could have done the same thing then. We do a rotation. I could be looking down into the trough and then just get to a forward paddle position. So right here, I'm doing all these backward strokes, and it's no man's land. If I was actually facing forward, hell yeah, we'd just be spinning back. And so it's actually fascinating to me that I just showed us doing this spin on the pile and then doing another spin, from an in-surf session, that I don't realize that I can do that same move. You know what I mean? And so even just right here, it's prying. I think pry, look down the trough. That shifts your hips sideways, and then switch the paddle stroke. So here, I'm just totally square with the boat. And so I'm just not set up for that early turn where, let's see, this, I'm actually going to set up for it. So I'm just heavily looking for that turn. Heavily prying, heavily edging, but because... So at some point, my seated position is square, but when I do that pry, I think right there, I'm starting to shift. I'm letting the boat shift underneath me, and now I'm sitting in a position that's totally perpendicular to the boat, which helps this transition. So, I'm even just learning from this one. And then so here was the one on the fly, where it's just if I wanted to do the early turn here, and it's weird because I'm just jumping to my strong side. I'm sitting and then just instantly trying to get a pry in. But hey, get this pry in and then look that direction. Even just looking down into the trough will square my hips more perpendicular. So my hips are totally locked in this direction to the boat. And I want to get sideways at least. So when I do execute this pry, at least my hips are sideways. I'm looking down into the trough. So hell yeah, I'm learning. Even from this video, that I could have, like that early turn is very powerful. And sometimes it doesn't even look like much because you're just forward surfing all the time. You're spinning and now you're forward surfing. And so we could have done this, but this was asking a lot. Jumping to that other side, prying, and then trying to do an early turn there. Okay, I think you get it. So hell yeah. I'm going to leave you just with both clips. Booyah.